And it's Gordo here from Gordo's Games, and we're back for some more Digimon TCG. No, it's been a while since I've done any deck profiles, things like that. Been a lot of game content back coming out, so we're going to start trying to get back into more. Obviously, we've had some fan lists and stuff like that, so thank you all for the support thus far. Much appreciated. We have just gone past our 400 subscribers. That's a big thank you there. We are close to that 500 marker, so it's that. Obviously, from here at Gordo's Games, we're absolutely buzzing because we do this just for fun. It's great to see that it's been taken and received well. But yeah, so I'm here at my setup today with a deck profile for a deck that I've been looking forward to playing. I think a lot of people have. Hint, the name on the actual video will tell you as well, but it is Beelzemon. Now with this deck, there is a variation of ways to build the deck, and I do think yes, it is very high in the RNG factor. You know, it's a lot of risk and reward from what you hit on your mills. Are you gonna get good procs, things like that? But at the same time, it's a lot of resource management, so you are rewarded for being very methodical in your plays, and you are punished sometimes when you're not able to trigger some things, or like, for instance, not having a Beelstarmon be able to trigger trash to whatever give the effect of the proc and one being played out can be horrendous because that could cost you game. But we'll get into more of those things as we go through the deck. But don't forget, if you do like the content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you know when this great content goes live for you. And thank you again. Get into it. So eggs, I was back and forth on this one because I quite like the Yarmon, the aspect of having the control of when I mill things, but at the same token, sometimes it's a little bit slow because it doesn't trigger on the Impmons. So I have gone with the 4 Pagu on the leash and trust top 2 cards of your deck. Realistically, this and BT1 or whatever, 1.0 Impmon, if you see that in the first 2 turns, it is crazy. If as long as it dies, obviously it can hit tamers, that is a thing, but you're trashing 5 things plus these 2, so that's 7 in trash already. You've met a lot of your criteria at that point, so we run 4 of those. Consistency. I do think you can run the Armons, but I think it's more of preference. I think realistically this gives you the speed you need in the early games because you want to close out this game as quick. If you get caught out in a long drawn out game, you're generally in a bad way, so things like security control can be a problematic. So run 4 it. It's going to be the 4 Pagu. Now I'm only running 13 rookies here. There is a chance that I may consider bumping this up, but this I have found to be enough at this point. That these are all more of personal choices overall. First things first, we run 4 of the Warp Impmon. This late, I want to say late game, mid to late game, or even early game, depending on how good you have with the mills. So if you've managed to see the right pieces and you're at 20 within the first 2 to 3 turns, which can easily happen with this deck. This card is insane. It applies so much pressure. The threat of being able to go into a level 6 from trash and then to be able to trash more cards from there, which then means there's more things that can happen, like popping things on board, gaining memory, playing out a rival's barrage, which then lets us add things back to hand for later. There's just so many potential chances for this to do stuff, as well as the whole the inheritable, which is when you turn when a card is trash you can pop a level 3 Digimon. That's great for getting rid of floodgates, because most people will try and put down a Madoki or something like that to try and slow you down, but you have enough ways just to pop those to get them out of the way. Probably the MVP of the deck. It can cost you games as well, because if you get caught out with this being left on board and you've got next to no cards in deck, they will just swing into it or find a way to remove it, and then you are cut out and you lose. But in the early game, as long as you use this correctly, it can accelerate your game plan so much more. Being 1k 98, if it hits a Digimon, it's gonna die. There's no way around it. We haven't got a 500 DP Digimon yet, so it's always gonna die as long as it hits a Digimon. Outside of that, it can be problematic. You're gonna look to trash potentially 5, 3 if you haven't got an egg. So it's a really strong. Moving on to the X2 Impmon. This card I am so 50-50 with. Its mill effect is amazing, no question. You know, you have up to 3. So when this is trash, as long as it's not by itself, you can mill up to 3 cards. And it does say up to 3 on there, so that's a good thing to keep in mind, because you can select 0 if you don't wish to mill let's say you're running low on card count and you don't want to just keep procking for the sake of procking. But my only other pet peeve with this card is the fact is he only adds Beelzemon and Beelzemon alone. Obviously, I get the blast mode, that's great, and obviously yes, we do want to see that to get to our end pieces. Half the time we want to see them in trash. Anyway, not so much in hand. And it does add the Iron Mako again as well, but you don't really play a massive tamer count to make that worthwhile. Half the time you've milled those before you even get a chance to see them. But it does miss out on things, if you use this and you'll end up bottom decking things like your level 5, your level 4 that you needed, your Beelstars that you already did. So it can be a problem, but it's a necessary evil because otherwise this card's amazing for mill effect. And it does give a 3k buff to Beels as well, so which is pretty nuts. Most things cap out at like a 2k, this gives a 3k buff to it. So your EX2 Beels, which is 11k, will be 14k. Your starter deck one would go to being 15k, which is usually more times than none big enough to deal with most things, unless it hits the level 7 read. And then finally run at one of Beelzemon. If I was to look to put another rookie in, I would probably put another Beelzemon to go in with this. It's okay in the mirror to slow down some of the memory gains. Most decks run memory boost. Everybody's playing for a massive amount of consistency, so this can just slow down plays. Don't get me wrong, there's so many ways just to kill these floodgates these days. They're not usually around long enough to be worthwhile. But if I can stall anything for a turn, I'll take the win there. So we play the one of Beelzemon. So I said we're playing 13 rookies there in total. For level 4s, we are running 9 level 4s. Obviously with this deck the ratios are very obscure, but we do run ways to try and fetch cards back a lot of the time. So we can try and get around that as much as possible, and we do try to go from this into level 6. So we're aiming to skip a lot of these processes by going up to level 4, level 5, etc. Let's start it off simple. We run 2 Digimon. It can be helpful just to try and get yourself back one of your tamers if needed. Let's say if you want surgeon going, or if you just want to get a bit of pressure on board. You don't care if this lives or dies. You're just going to swing. If it dies, you trash 3. You can add something back. Get your hand set up for your next turn in raising, or like I said, get yourself a tame back so you can set yourself up so you're not getting choked if you're in the memory setter one, or the 3-cost one to search for your additional cards where needed. And the 3-cost one does allow you to really accelerate your turns a bit by having its effect to be able to put a card on top of the deck to gain a memory, and then if you resolve it correctly, you will trash whatever you put on top of the deck as part of the when Digimon effects for most of your cards. Speaking of when Digimon effects, we run 3 Witchmon. I did contemplate trying the security one just to have some kind of pop out security and do stuff. Unfortunately, it doesn't do enough. Yeah, okay, it can add me back the Bowmon if I've seen it. But you really just want to keep accelerating your turn. So when Digivolve and trash the top 3 cards of your deck. It also gives 2k as an inheritable to Wizard or Demon Lord. So this is Beelstar or Beelzemon, which is good. But trash 3, it's just there's more chances to hit most of your good procs, so like Death Slingers to extend out your turn, your blast mode to potentially pop something, or your Beelzemon to play out another Imp one so you can go wider. You just want to keep trying to hit as many of those triggers as possible. And then finally, for Wizardmon, you have to run 4 of this. You have 8 targets in the deck that for memory gain, and you want to try and run as many of them as possible. And this one, when you use its inheritance as well, when you may reveal 1 purple card in your hand and return it to the top of your deck when attacking. You can allow yourself to stack your better mills. So when you're doing, let's say for example, the EX2 Impmon, EX2 Beelzemon, you can then go ahead, swing, trigger the mill 2, use the Wizardmon first of all, so you'll stack something good there, and then get what your triggers and such from it. So 4 of this. It does come up quite often, and it's nice sometimes to see this, so you can just evo up in the back. A lot of the time is that you don't tend to do that, you're just throwing bodies at the security in aims to just chip away at them. But there can be the case when you're looking to play into, you've got rookies on board, raise one, build one up in raising, ready to come out the following turn. There is the level 4. Level 5, there is a hefty amount we play. Bound. So starting at bound one, there potentially is room if you can't get on with it. This is probably the most controversial spot because most people would consider this to be a very low cap. But like I said, you don't really evolve like a normal deck, so you are aiming to high roll into getting all your pieces so you can go into this. If you see one of these, go over their stat, that's great because this has got when Digivolve and trash the top 3 cards of your deck. Also has the one when Digivolve, this Digimon gains on deletion. If there are 10 or more cards in your trash, you may play one Beelzemon from your trash. It's cost to the end of your opponent's turn. The good thing about that is it gains it. So even if you've not met the target for the 10 at that point, if there are 10 by the time this is deleted, then you will get the trigger for it. As well as the fact of if you're de-digivolved, it would then still trigger. So if you're de-digivolved then deleted, it would still trigger because the Digimon gained it first into the end of your opponent's turn. It really puts a lot of work in. My problem with the older Balmon is that one plays into a lot slower playstyle because you're going to want to evolve up into Beelzemon, then go into that one, sit at the back, raise out, go ahead, swing, trash 3, so you get some value out of the card, and then if it dies, you get to play out Beels. So I just feel like it's a little bit too slow for what the deck needs to do. And BT12 will get Bound Anti, which will most likely find a place in the deck. It will run just the 4. Moving into level 6s, so I've seen there's various different ways how you play the deck, and I guess it really comes down to your play style with it. At the moment I'm running 8 level 6s, which may seem quite high, but like I said, we're aiming to walk a lot of the time, so we're not too fussed about seeing more of these than we have to, because one of the Beelzemon has one of the best triggers going. I'm only running 3 of that. So I'm going to start off with that one. Oh no, sorry, I'm running 4. So we're running 4 EX2 Beels. The reason being, its mill is one of the best. It plays out in imp. So if you can play out all of these, you can play out all the other imp mons. If you need to see, let's say for example, you need to see an imp Beels in hand, you can play out the Surge EX2 imp mon, Surge or Hammer. It also has a when Digivolve when attacking, which is immense value when you get the right things for it. So if you move up into this normally, you get the whole when Digivolving, you may trash the top 2 cards of your deck, then delete one of your opponent's level 3 or lower Digimon for every 10 cards in your trash. Add 1 to the maximum level of the Digimon you choose with this effect. So that triggers when Digivolving, and it's not once per turn. If you can retain turn, you can then swing, trash a further 2 and get another pop. This card allows a good amount of control on board when you see it, and I feel like you have to run 4 of this, not only for its mill effect but for the fact of how much control it can allow you to have. So if you are playing against those decks that do like to go wide, this can help deal with those. The next one, now I've seen most people are running 2 on this. I do actually run 3 because I have come across various scenarios whereas I've not seen it, or I've needed it to be able to push game out because I've been a little bit too slow. Because whereas this one's great for the control side of things, the deck outside of this has no other additional security checks. So like the starting at blast mode doesn't like get additional checks. It gets them unsuspend to go for another 1 check, but realistically, it's not enough pressure where you need it to. Like I said, you need to finish this game out as quick as possible. So I have opted for 3 of these because I kept either seeing at 2 I saw 1 in security, or I had 1 in hand and no means to get the trash because I wasn't seeing the right pieces, or it was just a constant battle just to see it in the right place. I run a 3 and it's been doing okay for me so far. Give me enough pressure on board, the additional security checks, go into the blast mode, do another 2 checks and things like that. And the whole trash top 4 cards of your deck when Digivolving is pretty massive because you can get a lot of triggers there. And then it does have the old turn set. Once per turn, when a card is trashed from your deck, gain 1 memory for every 10 cards in your trash. So if you manage to have this out with a Beelstar next to it when your opponent swings, they trigger Beelstar, which will make them trash, and this will trigger as well. Just gain a memory for every 10 in your trash, which means you can potentially look to take turn off your opponent on some stages if they've not got means to be able to remove either part of the combo. And then also your turn, once per turn, when a card is trashed from your deck, this Digimon gains secure attack +1, which trashing this deck is very easy. Finally, we won 2 Beelstar. I did originally have this at 1, but I saw it too little, and this is your equivalent to hybrid for game in this deck. It's nice enough getting this and go security attack +1 and then go into blast mode. You often find you need that last check, and if you're able to get this out first, then go and get a trash, play out this, go into this, get security attack +1. You know, it's just a lot of pressure there just off that alone. And this can often stop your opponent from wanting to swing you as well. It's almost like a deterrent. So it's like, because they're going to make you trash, your effects still go off because the milled effects aren't your turn thing. It will just be a case of it's milled from the top of your deck, it will go out. So like Death Sting, I can take memory back. This can look to play out an Imp. Rival's Barrage can let you add something back on your turn, it will go into play, and the delay will be ready for your turn. Blast mode or pop smith. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong for it, and because of the RNG factor, a lot of people tend to slow down because of it. So run 9. So actually run 9. I was wrong there, so 9 level 6. There is room on that. Like I said, I run the 3 because I'm where I've not seen them enough, but that ratio has been working quite well. Now level 7s. Now I've tried a couple of pieces here, so I'm actually only running 1 blast mode. At the moment, that has been enough for me. Most of the time, it's either been in my trash when I need it to, it's been in my hand, I find a way to get rid of it, or I can just evolve into it from hand. Either or works fine. Because obviously, on occasions, it comes up where you've got the 4 cost item macro, you can just swing, then go straight into this, then unsuspend and all that. So I'm only playing 1 of this. I was running Deathexmon as my second level 7, but I found the deck, things like Beelzemon, deals with wide boards well enough in most scenarios, to the point of it wasn't actually coming up as a massive win con for me, because the matchups that are problematic for this one are things like Machinedramon, whereas they have the redirect and DDG evolve and disrupt your stacks and all sorts of things like that. But the problem with Machinedramon is they don't give you a wide enough board to be able to go, okay, free Deathexmon, let's disrupt your board. It's usually I'm going to pay 8, or I'm going to pay 11, or however much, and it often becomes a waste of a turn basically. Or they're taking it down a stack and they'll just go up into another one, or other decks will do the same thing because they've not played enough things out to give me enough reduction. So I opted for one of the old EX2 blast mode. Another reason for this one is because I was doing some testing recently against Mastimon, and like I said, security control can be a problem in this deck because of how much they can recover. You're generally on a timer for how your game's going to go because you're beating yourself by milling your deck. So if you get to the right point, this can look to accelerate your win con. Like I said, especially if you have the forecast iron Mako out, if you can swing, then go into this, you can go for some pretty big turns, and it gets a deletion on Digivolving as well. And it does say all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. So if they do have multiple level 6s out or multiple level 5s, and that's the highest level, it will delete all of them, which can be a massive tempo change. So I run 2 there. I can say this has won me quite a few games at the moment. But Deathexmon, if you do feel like you struggle with wide boards, it's still a valid tech, just because Rival's Barrage is going to add it back and things like that as well. Options, we do run a heavy amount of options. So run 10. Obviously the reason being, those options are generally doing something when they're milled, so always good. This one doesn't, but it mills things for us. So we run 2 Mistmen boost. Gives us 2 memory and the delay, but it does trash 2 and then draw a card. The draw card's not really the most important thing, but it can come up as helpful. And you can top deck something good, but you potentially can trash 2. Let's say example you hit the X2 Imp one, you then trash a further 3, so you've just trashed 5 cards just off the back, and you gain a memory next turn, which is a great amount of value. Running 4 Deathslinger, the card's insane. Not only do you gain memory when it's milled, but the delete one of your opponent's level 4 loader for every 10 cards in your trash, and increase the highest level of this effect by effect and choose by 1. So if I have 10 trash, I can choose 5. If I have 20 trash, I can choose a 6. that is such an easy condition for this deck, and then to just pop it for 4. Now deleting a level 7 can be a little bit more problematic because obviously by that point you're probably looking to be out or you're in a very rough spot. So you don't tend to be able to delete level 7s that easy unless you absolutely, you know, it's late game you need to, but taking out a level 6 with forecast that's plasma stake basically from red, which is great. Now I am running 4 Rivals Barrage. I feel like I so far I'm like best, and I need to have responses in security, as well as things coming up, being able to sort my hand out if I'm correct in that, for instance, and that's what this does. It allows me just to rid them. If it's hitting security, it gets it up, which is great. If it's milled from the deck, it allows me to back a piece that I'm missing. Worst case scenario, like because I've had people where they've, for instance, I was Giga Death the other day. They put me on like 8. So I was able to, and they had a Evade and Exit force. So I was able to go ahead, Death Slinger, and then Rivals Barrage to clear out the stack, which then put me in a position where I can actually take back. So it has come up, and yeah, adding cards back is great. A great way to get yourself set up, get your turn set up so you can go for your kill turn space. And last but not least, Tamers, run 3. We run 2 Iron Mako, 3 cost 1, reveal top 4 cards, add 1 Digimon card with Evil Wizard or Demon Lord trait among them to your hand, place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. It's just your search card, and it does have the effect of your turn when one of your Digimon digivolves into a purple Digimon. By suspending this team up, return 1 card from your hand on top of your deck and gain a memory. So it allows you to set up your top of your deck for a decent mill, because you can trigger your 1 Digi, so go Digivolve, draw for Digivolve, then trigger this up just before the 1 Digivolving. So you would then stack a card. Let's say, for example, you're going to Beelzemon, you would stack a Wizardmon, put it to the top of the deck, Beelzemon a trigger. You will then gain a memory from this. You gain a memory from the Wizardmon, and then whatever else you can hit as well. And we do run a 1 of 4 cost 1. Sometimes it is problematic, and I have considered trying to bump this up. Because being choked can be pain, because we don't run things like Jack Raid and stuff like that, you know, just game memory. We have to iron mills or, you know, stat the top of our security so that we can look to get bits of memory back or go into the starter BLs and things. But the problem is, because we mill so much from the deck, half the time we don't see this at the right time. And I know things like Rivals Barrage had a Tamer back and or a Digimon, but I don't think I've often seen myself looking to add back Tamer where needed. So it's doing okay for me as a 1 of. Like I said, going into this with the Iron Mako down can be great, because you end up doing this for 3 costs on top of BLs. Apologies, it's quite late here. It's nice to do these things at the most practical times here at Gordo's Games. But yeah, so 1 and 2 of there, and it has been putting in some work. Overall, that's the list I've been running. I know Beelzemon's going to be going around quite a bit because it's quite a high fan base for it. People are waiting for the buffs and that to the deck, so if you're interested to see how it plays out in the meta, I do think it has got some strong matchups, and it also has got some problematic ones. Like I said, it doesn't have the best drawn out games, so security control can be a problem for it. Machine Digimon can be with the amount of redirects. Black War Grey can be a problem, but obviously things have changed now. As soon as the ban list comes into effect from the beginning of April, because Greymon X will be out the window, so unless they revert back to the old Greymon X for the protection clauses or just bump up the Ultras, it's all depends on how that one works out. But yeah, that's the deck profile. If you do like it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications so you know when there's great content good. And for myself here at Gordo's Games, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.